After many years of people guessing and talking, Richard Rawlings has finally told everyone the truth about the rumors that have been going around. From breaking speed records on the road to building his gas monkey garage business, Richard has always lived life really fast. But this time, he's telling us what's really been happening behind the scenes. From his marriage that didn't work out to selling his car collection, and even why his popular TV show got cancelled. Stay with us as we discover the real story straight from Richard himself. The road to Gas Monkey. Before he was famous, before Fast and Loud, Richard Rawlings was just a kid from Fort Worth, Texas, with grease on his hands and a head full of dreams about cars. His story isn't just about engines, it's about loving what you do, surviving hard times, and turning childhood love into a business known around the world. Richard was born in 1969, right in the heart of Texas, where muscle cars and rock and roll were a way of life. His father didn't have much money, but he had something more special, a deep love for cars. From when he was really young, Richard followed him to car shows, breathing in the smell of gasoline and motor oil like it was something nice. Those moments with his dad started something powerful in him. One photo explains it all perfectly. Little Richard sitting in a toy Volkswagen Beetle, holding the wheel like a real driver. Other kids dreamed of superheroes, Richard dreamed of engines. By age 14, he was already living that dream. He bought his first car, a green 1974 Mercury Comet, with his own saved money. He learned how engines worked, how to bring old cars back to life, and how to make money from them. Through his high school years at Eastern Hills, cars were his classroom. While other students studied textbooks, Richard was studying engines. By the time he finished school, he'd bought and sold around 20 cars. Everyone knew him as the kid who could turn a rusty old car into something beautiful. But his path wasn't a straight road. After high school, he tried something unexpected. He became a firefighter, a police officer, and a paramedic. The work was tough and dangerous, but it made him more confident and taught him how to stay calm when things got crazy. Then came 1992, the night everything almost ended. At just 22 years old, Richard was shot during a carjacking at a Whataburger drive-thru in Fort Worth. The bullet went through his shoulder, but he lived. That moment changed everything. He understood that life was too short not to follow his dream. He later started a printing company called Lincoln Press, learning how to run a business and build a brand. When he sold it and made money, he finally had enough money to follow his real dream, to build a garage that didn't just fix cars, but celebrated them. That dream became Gas Monkey Garage, a place born from hard work, love for cars, and the fearless drive of a Texas kid who refused to give up. Looking back, it's clear that everything in Richard's early life helped make him the man he would become. His father taught him to love what he do. His early jobs taught him discipline. His close call with death made him fearless, and his first business taught him how to think smart. From the start, Richard was ready to take on any challenge that came his way. But the big question is, how did he turn all that into fame known around the world? The becoming. After years of working hard, struggling, and learning from every mistake, Richard Rawlings was finally ready to turn his lifelong love for cars into something bigger. In 2002, with just hard work, determination, and money from selling his printing and advertising business, Lincoln Press, he opened the doors of Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas, Texas. But the early days were anything but nice and easy. The shop was tiny. There was no air conditioning, no running water, and barely enough space to work. Most people would have given up, but Richard Rawlings wasn't most people. He was running on pure drive, wanting to build something that would one day shake up the car world. He put every dollar, every bit of energy, and every dream he had into keeping the lights on. With little more than love for cars and a few loyal mechanics, Richard hit the road to make the Gas Monkey name known. He drove across the country, going to car shows, trade events, and rallies, talking to anyone who would listen. He didn't have billboards or fancy ads. He had his personality, his charm, and a deep love for cars that people couldn't help but connect with. By 2004, after selling another business called Promo Wipes, Rawlings finally had the money to fuel his dream the right way. About $25 million of money. This gave him the chance to grow Gas Monkey Garage into more than just a car shop. His vision wasn't just to fix and sell cars, he wanted to build a brand, one that celebrated the fun, freedom and family that car culture meant. Then the most important year came for Richard Rawlings. Together with his friend Dennis Collins, he set out to break one of the most legendary speed records of all time, the Cannonball Run, a coast-to-coast race from New York City to Los Angeles. The record, first set in 1974, stood at 32 hours and 51 minutes. Most thought it couldn't be beaten, but Rawlings and Collins weren't most people. Driving a heavily changed Ferrari 550 Maranello fitted with extra fuel tanks so they could go longer without stopping. They raced across the country. On May 12, 2007, they left Manhattan in the middle of the night, and 31 hours and 59 minutes later, they pulled into the Portofino Inn in Redondo Beach, California. They had done it. The impossible record had been broken. There was disagreement, of course. Some questioned the exact route or compared it to earlier runs. But none of that mattered. The daring stunt made headlines, and more importantly, earned Richard a nod from one of the biggest car icons in the world, Jay Leno. For a man like Rawlings, that moment was huge. Jay Leno's recognition wasn't just a nice comment, it was a stamp of approval from the ultimate car guy. Still, even with his growing reputation, Gas Monkey Garage was far from stable. Between 2002 and 2012, Richard faced constant struggles, money pressure, workers he couldn't count on, and the challenge of finding rare parts. Some days he barely had enough to keep the doors open. But through all the ups and downs, he never stopped believing. While managing the shop, he kept pitching an idea to TV networks, a reality show about fixing up classic cars. One that wasn't just for hardcore car fans, but for families and everyday people who loved a good story. Most networks turned him down. They said it was too risky, too small of an audience, too small. But Richard didn't quit. He knew the idea could work. Then in 2012, the Discovery Channel finally said yes. When Fast and Loud first showed on June 6th, no one could have guessed what was about to happen. The show followed Richard and his crew at Gas Monkey Garage as they hunted down forgotten classic cars, brought them back to life, and sold them for money. At the heart of the show was the perfect pair. Rawlings, the fast-talking dealmaker, and Aaron Kaufman, the quiet, smart mechanic who could turn rust into gold. The show became hugely popular. Within months, Fast and Loud was showing in over 200 countries and translated into 13 languages. It became one of the Discovery Channel's biggest hits, inspiring spin-off shows like Misfit Garage and Demolition Theatre. Fans loved it because it wasn't just about fixing cars. It was about the personalities, the humor, and the drama behind every build. But behind the scenes, it wasn't always smooth. Like many reality shows, some moments were scripted, and deadlines were really tough. The team worked under huge pressure to finish projects on time, often with tight budgets and impossible demands. Over time, tensions grew. In 2017, Aaron Kaufman shocked fans by leaving the show. He said he wanted to take on more complex builds, projects that didn't fit the show's fast-paced, budget-driven style. There were also creative and personal differences. Still, both he and Richard said they remained friends. Aaron later started his own shop, Arclight Fabrication, and starred in his own show, Shifting Gears. Other members of the Gas Monkey crew left too. Tom Smith and Jordan Butler left after a fight with Rawlings, claiming it came from an incident involving a young fan with cystic fibrosis. The drama only made more people interested, keeping Gas Monkey Garage constantly in the headlines. Despite the ups and downs, the formula that made Fast and Loud successful was simple. Buy smart, sell smarter. Richard's business instincts were really sharp. He often carried stacks of cash to negotiations, ready to close a deal right away. You can always buy a $10,000 car for $5,000 if you've got it in your pocket, he once said, and he proved it time and time again. In one memorable episode, the crew bought a Dodge Challenger for about $40,000. After spending $77,000 on fixing it up, they sold it for $150,000, earning a $73,000 profit. By the time Fast and Loud ended in 2020, after 16 seasons and 155 episodes, Richard Rawlings had built more than a TV show. He had built a brand. Gas Monkey had become a name known worldwide. When he announced the show's end on the Joe Rogan Experience, Rawlings said the format, buy a car, fix a car, sell a car, had simply run its course. But the legacy of Fast and Loud was undeniable. It took a man who started with nothing but a dream and turned him into one of the biggest car figures on television, from a garage with no running water to a global brand with millions of fans. Richard Rawlings' rise is proof that loving what you do, not giving up, and a little bit of Texas grit can turn any dream into a roaring success. But why did the show end? Why Fast and Loud ended? After nearly 10 years of roaring engines and wild builds, Fast and Loud came to an end in 2020. But the show didn't end because people stopped watching. It ended because Richard Rawlings, the face of Gas Monkey Garage, decided it was time to move on. For many fans, this came as a shock. The show had made Gas Monkey a global name and turned Rawlings into one of the biggest personalities in car television. But behind the fame, Richard was feeling trapped and ready for change. What once felt exciting was starting to feel the same over and over. He wanted to explore new ideas, tell deeper stories, and have more creative control. But there was one big problem: his contract with the Discovery Channel. When Fast and Loud began, Discovery owned nearly everything connected to the brand. Richard later explained on the Joe Rogan Experience that his deal was so strict he had to get the network's approval before posting anything online, even photos of his own cars. He couldn't start other shows, podcasts, or business deals without permission. For someone as independent and energetic as Richard, this was frustrating. He wanted to connect with fans directly and start projects like a podcast, but his contract didn't allow it. He realized that if he wanted freedom, he would have to walk away from the show that made him famous. As the world slowed down, he decided to take back control of his career. On Joe Rogan's podcast, he announced that he had officially left the Discovery Channel and was now a free agent. That decision marked the end of Fast and Loud and the start of a new chapter. It wasn't about anger or money, it was about independence. Richard wanted to run Gas Monkey Garage his own way and reach fans through platforms like YouTube, podcasts, and live events without anyone telling him what he could or couldn't do. But what was his life like since the show ended? Life after Fast and Loud. After Fast and Loud ended, Richard Rawlings didn't stop for a moment. He just found new ways to keep his engine running. As of 2025, he's still the proud owner of Gas Monkey Garage, where he continues to buy, restore, and sell some of the most amazing cars around. But his success now reaches far beyond television. In 2021, Richard returned to screens with a new show called Wheels and Deals, featuring him and the Gas Monkey crew as they searched for rare cars to rebuild. Viewers love the mix of old-school vehicles and fast-paced business deals. By 2025, he used the show to launch Gas Monkey Buys, a service that lets people submit details of their cars online for a chance to get an instant quote or sale offer. It was a clever digital twist on his hands-on style of buying cars. Richard also continued to grow the Gas Monkey brand into something much larger than just a garage. He entered the world of restaurants and bars, opening new places that mixed car culture with entertainment. He also launched Gas Monkey Bar in Sturgis, South Dakota. Perfect for the famous motorcycle rally crowd, he opened the Gas Monkey Ice House in the Colony, Texas. This spot combines a restaurant, music venue, and car show all in one, becoming a hub for car lovers, families, and fans of his brand. Even with these new ventures, Rawlings hasn't drifted from what started it all: cars and creativity. Gas Monkey Garage continues to build bold custom rides, while his YouTube channel and podcast, Monkey Trap, with Richard Rawlings, keep fans updated on his projects, thoughts on business, and love for everything fast. Through these platforms, he stayed connected with millions of followers worldwide. His newest business idea, Gas Monkey Buys, also made it easier for everyday car owners to sell directly to him. This modern move keeps his garage filled with exciting finds while helping car fans get fair deals for their rides. Alongside that, his merchandise line, from t-shirts to hats and car gear, remains a global symbol of freedom, speed, and boldness. Richard's love for racing hasn't faded either. He now sponsors FHO Racing at the Isle of Man TT, one of the world's toughest motorcycle races. It's another reminder that Gas Monkey isn't just about cars. It's about all things that move fast and loud. Recently, he even sold part of his personal car collection, not to slow down, but to make room for rarer, higher-value models. For him, quality always beats quantity. Before Fast and Loud, Rawlings had already built his reputation through restaurants, bars and concert venues, including the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill in Dallas and Gas Monkey Live. Though some of these ventures closed, they paved the way for his bigger projects and taught him valuable lessons about business. Today, Richard Rawlings is far more than just a television personality.